Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fools podcast. My name's Jesse. This is Brandon.
Happy to be here. No LSAO this
No
week.
LSAO. We have our little buddy here in place of him. You guys can't see this. Just go to the Fantasy Football Fools on YouTube and check out the podcast there. Yeah,
Probably provides the same amount of good information too. So we're not going to miss a beat this week.
Call him Skeletor. All right. Today we got a bunch of stuff for you, as we do every week. We got news. We got the fantasy tops, the fantasy bottoms, the Faceplants. We're going to talk about some running backs, some backfields for you today. It's a packed show, so let's get started. News and injuries.
Oh, son of a... That's going to leave a mark.
Mac Jones, severe high ankle sprain, probably 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, heard about that. Saw the one on Sunday. He hasn't been great this year anyway. He's not a real fantasy asset for teams, needing quarterbacks. But 4 to 6 weeks going to hurt some of the receivers. We saw Devontae Parker had a good week this week, so kind of hurt some of those guys. But again, I think you're only maybe playing the running backs there anyways. So interested to see kind of what that offense looks like moving forward.
Did you hear... They came out with a press statement or something. They said, this injury, most people would need surgery or something. It's but apparently he doesn't. He's
so tough. Yeah,
beast mode. David Montgomery, ankle. It's a big one.
Yeah, that one is. He came out early in the first quarter this week, and Khalil Herbert came in, had a monster game. I haven't seen him definitely being out this week. I think he's kind of day-to-day is what they called it. But if he couldn't come back in on Sunday, I'm sure that thing's pretty sore now. So definitely worth keeping an eye on. Again, that Bears offense not super explosive, so they got like 150 plus yards out of Khalil Herbert. So maybe even if he does come back and he's not at full health, maybe you start to see kind of a split in that backfield now too, with how successful Herbert was. Yeah,
and 2 touchdowns too for him there. Dalvin Cook, shoulder. What else is new?
Yeah, so he's always hurt. And this one he said, oh yeah, they popped out of place. We just pop it back in. I've done it before. So again, he always misses probably 2, 3, 4 games a year. It happens all the time. And when he does, Madison comes in and puts up big numbers. So this might be just the first game of a few that he'll miss, but never seems to miss too long. So he could play this week. They're over in London with an early morning game on Sunday.
And he wears a brace, apparently.
Right.
I don't know what this brace contraption is, but it's, good for him, I guess. I don't know. Joe Mixon, minor ankle issue.
Yeah, so he was a little banged up, and then again, they have an early game this week. They're playing Thursday night, so definitely keep tabs on that. If he plays, you're playing him. If not, they brought in Samaje Perine for some extra action, but he's been getting a ton of volume the first 2 weeks. This week wasn't too successful. Again, banged up a little bit, but if he plays, you're playing him.
And DeAndre Swift, another shoulder injury.
Yeah, this is the big one. I think it's a shoulder, and I don't know if it's a shoulder and a knee or a shoulder and an ankle. I think there's 2 injuries. And they said he may miss a couple weeks. And so the timeline put him potentially coming back, I think week 8, because the Lions have a week 7 bye or something like that, a week 6 bye maybe. So they said maybe let him rest for 2 weeks and then take that extra week off with the bye and come back healthy in 3 weeks. That's definitely a big one to watch.
Michael Thomas, toe issue.
Yeah, we finally got him back healthy this season, and then sure enough, he's going to get injured again. So yeah, he came out of that game on Sunday. Again, day-to-day, something to keep an eye on. But
I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, like what I've seen so far to Michael Thomas in a bounce-back year.
Same game, Traquan Smith, concussion.
Yeah, he's kind of the 4th option there, I think, or the 4th receiver at least. You got Michael Thomas, you got Jarvis Landry, who also got hurt a little bit, and then Chris Olave, the rookie, who's been really good. So again, I don't think that Traquan Smith is on too many rosters.
We talked about Jarvis Landry. He had a foot issue as well. Jalen Guyton, torn ACL. He is done for the season.
Yeah, done for the year. He's kind of in the same boat, kind of the 4th option for the Chargers with Mike Williams. We've seen a lot of Josh Palmer. Keenan Allen should be coming back. So, again, kind of the 4th option at the receiver spot. So maybe those guys just get kind of an uptick in targets.
And they're pretty banged up. And Herbert's banged up, too.
Yeah, they got a guy throwing to him that's still hurt.
And A.J. Green, knee, bone bruise, could be 4 or more weeks.
Yeah, so that's kind of another intriguing one. Again, not that many people were playing him, but we got DeAndre Hopkins still suspended. We had Rondale Moore, who's still been out. So he was kind of the number 2 option behind Marquise Brown.
It's the day of the Dortch.
Yeah, Dortch has been awesome in the slot, getting a ton of targets. So now, it's just going to be all Brown and all Dortch and Zach Ertz maybe until these other guys get back.
Let's talk about some pickups you guys hopefully got this week. If you did not, I know this is probably coming out on Thursdays, Wednesdays maybe, but go check who people dropped because you never know. There may be somebody nice that got dropped on the waiver wire. Quarterbacks, who are you looking at? Trevor Lawrence, man, had a huge week.
Yeah, he dominated the Chargers. I think over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he's looked really good. Again, we talked a lot about him in some of our earlier shows where they just had the worst coach in NFL history there last year, so he didn't really have a fair shot. Now they have Doug Peterson, who's led the Eagles to a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, so he's doing some good things there. Really liked what I've seen from him. Yeah, absolutely interested in he's a really high-end backup quarterback if you need one as we start approaching those bye weeks too.
What about Marcus Mariota? Falcons.
Yeah, he's like frisky. He's going to get you some rushing yards. He's going to make some plays. We like what we've seen out of Drake London. They got Kyle Pitts, who had a much better game. So Cordero Patterson's been good. So their offense has been good. They've moved the ball, a lot of weapons. So again, you could do worse at quarterback, especially in 2-quarterback or super flex kind of league.
Yeah, we'll talk about Cordero later. Running backs. Jamal Williams, Detroit, of course, he's going to be the biggest pickup this week.
He is, yeah, and he was great this week. I think he had a couple touchdowns. He's been stealing a lot of work from DeAndre Swift when he was, kind of healthy. So obviously, if Swift's gone, Williams is the guy. I think he's a top 7 running back at the moment, and that's with Swift playing in the previous 3 games. So he's been really good. Now, if he gets all the work, he's absolutely a monster pickup this week.
And Alexander Madison as well. These 2 guys, either you got them or you didn't at this point. But definitely look out for those. Wide receiver, let's go a little bit. Actually, these guys will probably be taken as well. Zay Jones, Jacksonville Jacksonville, man, they had some good receivers.
The passing game's real. We've seen they signed Christian Kirk in the offseason. He's been really good, but there's enough offense there and enough passing game to go around, and Zay Jones has been the number 2 guy. He's been getting a lot of work. I think he had 6 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown or something this week. But, yeah, he's looked really good. And, again, just kind of a solid option in case you're in desperate need of a wide receiver.
Romeo Doubs, Green Bay, finally
had his breakout game this week. I think he had 7 for 87 and a touchdown. Again, the Packers had some guys out. Sammy Watkins missed. I think that the rookie Christian Watson was out also. So it was really kind of the Romeo Doubs show. Lazard was there, and Doubs still outperformed him. So we've kind of talked about it a lot. What are they going to do without Devontae Adams? They're still looking for that big receiver. I think it's a good sign. Anytime Rodgers can build rapport with somebody and can compliment guys, he doesn't do it a lot, and he's done it with Doubs. So I think we could see some good things from him moving forward.
Yeah, this is just starting, so there's a lot of season left. Russell Gage, Tampa Bay. They had nobody there either.
Yeah, they obviously had their top 3 guys out. Evans was suspended. Chris Godwin's still hurt. Who's the third? Julio Jones, he was hurt also. So, yeah, Gage was the number 1. He showed it that week. I wouldn't expect it as we start to get these guys back. Obviously Mike Evans back this week, and the other 2 guys probably aren't too far behind.
We talked about him. Greg Dortch.
Yeah, he's been really good. Again, he's going to start losing receptions and things as Hopkins comes back, as Rondale Moore comes back. But if you're in a pinch and you need a guy, especially in like a PPR type of format, he catches 6, 7, 8 balls a week, kind of just working that slot. And he's been impressive. So, again, kind of maybe a 1-week guy for you until the other guys get back.
And Mac Hollins, again, probably the 4th guy in Vegas. He had a big game, but is that going to be sustainable?
Right. Had a big game, I think, with Hunter Renfrow out this week. But again, he's got more targets than Devontae Adams. He got more than Darren Waller. I think he kind of provides a different element to the offense. He was kind of their deep threat this week. And so, he looked really good. Again, I'll be interested to see what happens when Hunter Renfrow comes back. But again, they're throwing the ball a ton there, and it's not all going to Adams and Waller like we thought. So I think there's a potential for Hollins to be successful moving forward.
Tight ends, David Njoku, Cleveland.
Yeah, he had a nice game last Thursday night. I think we're kind of waiting for this. Again, he's big, he's athletic. They don't have a ton of pass-catching options there outside of Amari Cooper. They obviously want to run the ball a ton with Chubb and Hunt, but Njoku was outstanding and kind of showed his athleticism on Thursday night. So definitely someone... there's not a lot of good tight ends out there, so if you're kind of streaming guys each week, he's certainly one that I would look at given the right matchup.
Another one to possibly look at is Tyler Conklin from the Jets. He's had 7 targets, 9 targets, 10 targets each of the last 3 weeks. So he's getting the looks.
Yeah, currently the tight end 7. He's absolutely. I think that's the one thing. When you get past the top 3 or 4 guys, you're really just looking for opportunities, and targets is exactly that, right? It's an opportunity every week, and I think you mentioned 8, 9, 10, 6 targets, whatever it is. That's what you're looking for, and he's kind of produced on that. And as I mentioned, tight end 7 at the moment, so you could do far worse.
Defense. Who are you picking up to stream? Well, Philly, first of all. I mean, I think you should just pick them up. I mean, they've been pretty good the past 2 weeks.
They've been outstanding. They had 9 sacks this past week against Carson Wentz. They had, I think, 3 interceptions the week before. So they've been good. They played Jacksonville this week. So I'm really intrigued by what Jacksonville does. I had the Chargers defense in a couple leagues, and they just couldn't do anything against Jacksonville. So I'm a little hesitant there. But, just what Philadelphia has shown has been outstanding. So I think certainly they are worth looking at. They're good up front, like I said, with all the sacks. They're good on the back end. Darius Slay, lockdown corners. So, yeah, they've been really, really good this year, and someone to definitely play in the right matchup.
They're only rostered in 58% of leagues on Yahoo. And here's just one I'll throw. Oh, Miami also. We're going to talk about them. They've been decent. They've been Miami's just impressed on both sides of the ball, I think, so far for most people this season.
Absolutely. I think Miami obviously getting the win over Buffalo this week, and they held Buffalo to 17 points, right, which nobody's done this year. Buffalo's been putting up 40 on everybody. The thing about Miami that I really like, when they play teams in Miami, when they're hosting at home, it gets hot. People can't handle it. I mean, if you saw the end of that game, there was guys like hunched over. They couldn't breathe. Just guys that can't catch up, but they're just not used to it. So Miami takes advantage of a lot of those things when they're playing at home. So again, good defense, right? They get after the passer. They can certainly rush the quarterback, but when they're at home and they're playing the right team, I think they're a good streaming option.
All right, let's move on to the top fantasy guys. The fantasy tops. Quarterback Lamar Jackson, 18 for 29, 218 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 4 sacks, 11 rushes, 107 yards, 1 touchdown. He's a beast as usual.
He's been unbelievable. Currently the quarterback 1, and he's just been awesome. I mean, he's doing it through the air. He's doing it on the ground. I think he ran for 100 yards this week also. I mean, he's just been absolutely incredible. And doesn't have a lot of pass catch to work. Obviously, Mark Andrews is outstanding, but not a great receiving core there, and he's still doing it. So Lamar Jackson's been an absolute slam dunk this year.
Jalen Hurts, 22 for 35, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, 9 rushes for 20 yards.
Yeah, he's another guy who's just been outstanding the last few weeks. And he's a guy coming into the year, there's questions about, well, how much is he going to throw the ball? Well, the last 2 weeks he's been over 300 yards.
Yeah.
Been outstanding. Still has the threat to rush, but he hasn't even had to do. I think he only had 20 yards rushing this week, which usually you can count on 50, 60 yards out of him. But if he keeps doing this through the air the way he's been doing it, he's arguably a top 3 quarterback the rest of the season.
I mean, the great thing is both these guys, if they can't do it through the air, they'll do it on the ground. Trevor Lawrence, not so much. 28 for 39, 262 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I don't believe he had any rushes. If he did, it was not much.
Yeah, they own the Chargers. They look so good. It's just, again, like I mentioned before, night and day from last year. He looks great, just a great arm. Has some good talent around him. He's definitely getting the most out of those guys. But, yeah, I love Trevor Lawrence as kind of a backup option as we move into the bye week portion of the schedule.
Wide receivers, Devonta Smith, 8 catches, 169 yards, and a touchdown. If A.J. Brown's not doing it, Devonta's going to step up. And that helps Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, he was awesome. I think he did most of his damage in the first half, too. I think over 100 yards, had the touchdown. This is coming off of, I think, week 1, no catches, right? And so we're kind of waiting for him to do it, and he showed what he's capable of doing. And, he and A.J. Brown, both big-time receivers. And, again, if Hurts is going to throw the ball the way he's doing it, plenty of targets to go around for both of those guys.
And then no Renfro, so Mac Hollins, 8 catches, 158 yards, and a touchdown. Where did this guy come from? I never heard of him before.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you're a Raider fan. Like, I haven't heard of him either. But, yeah, that was incredible. That's the kind of stat line you're expecting out of Devontae Adams, right? That's kind of what that they were looking for. Maybe that's the other teams are keen on those guys. But, yeah, I'd like to see Hollins do it again, obviously, before I'm a believer. But that's just, an insane stat line.
And then Amari Cooper's finally on the board, 7 for 101 and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, he's had a couple back-to-back weeks where he's been really good. So you mentioned 101 yards and a touchdown. He actually did the same exact thing the week before, 101 yards and a touchdown. So back-to-back
He
games.
can give you that every week.
Yeah, he's a must-start if he's doing that, but that's coming off of the first week where we had 3 catches for 17 yards. So again, Jacoby Brissett's there. You're not going to count on a ton of it. But he is the number 1 wide receiver in that offense, and so they got to throw to somebody.
Do you think he's going to get more volume or less volume when Deshaun comes in?
I think more, just because I think they're willing to call more pass plays with them. I think, the play action game could be huge with, the great running that they've had. So, again, I think you look at kind of what guys like Hopkins has done with Deshaun Watson before. So, yeah, I would think more. But, again, Cooper's a guy that gets hurt a lot, too. So I'd be interested to see this kind of how it looks the next
And we were
few
also
weeks.
talking about far removed. I mean, it's been a year, 2 years since, I don't even know how long since Deshaun's played.
Yeah.
But I mean,
terrible in like the one preseason game he played. But again, he's probably better than
you got to
Jacoby
get the jitters
Brissett,
out.
and yeah, absolutely.
Running back Khalil Herbert, we talked about him. He killed it, 20 for 157 and 2 TDs, 2 catches for 12 yards. Obviously, if he's in this week, you need to start him if you have him, if you were able to pick him up. Jamal Williams, same thing. All these backups coming in, 20 for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns, 2 catches, 20 yards. But the big one here, Cordero Patterson, 17 for 100. This guy's a receiver, of course. 17 for 141 yards and 1 touchdown. It's ridiculous. He had 1 catch as a receiver.
Yeah, we kind of thought last year was a fluke, and then here he is just doing it again. Right now, currently the running back 4 in fantasy.
Wow.
First week over 100 yards, this week over 100 yards. He's been really good. And again, that offense is kind of intriguing with Mariota, Pitts, himself, Drake London. Like, they've got some fun pieces to work with. So as long as he keeps getting the volume, I think he's still going to be producing.
Here's the thing. Do you try to trade for him? Or if you have him, do you try to trade him?
Yeah, if I was in that situation, I think I'm trying to trade him as opposed to trading for him. I just don't. Again, he did it last year, and we're kind of seeing it again, but I'm more likely to think that he can't sustain it over the season. And they have a rookie in Tyler Algier also that I think they'll probably try to work in a little bit more. So I think I'd rather trade him away than trying to go and trade for him.
And he's like, what, 34 years old?
He's old, yeah, absolutely. And he's a running back. He's taking a ton of hits. He's going to take a pounding. Those guys don't tend to last the whole year.
Tight ends, Mark Andrews, 8 for 13, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's Mark Andrews being Mark Andrews.
Yeah, not a lot to say. He's back. We mentioned that last week. I think he had a bad week 1, but again, he's back to being, tight end 1, which we thought he would be coming into the season.
Njoku, we talked about him, 9 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Jelani Woods was up there as the number 3 or 4 tight end.
I'm honest.
Here's the thing.
I don't know what team he plays for. Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Indianapolis
There you
tight
go.
end. Yeah.
So he
Oh,
had, this is great. This is
Yeah.
great. He had 2 catches for 13 yards, but 2 touchdowns.
2 touch. Yeah.
And
that's
that is what
pretty good
tight end
success
gives you.
rate.
So
Yeah.
if you can get if you can chase the touchdowns, then that's what it comes down to when you get to the 3, 4, 5 guy right there.
That's exactly. If you're picking up a tight end, you're just trying to pick up the guy that you think is most likely to score a touchdown.
Kickers. Yeah, we talk about him here. Greg Zerloin got you 18 points from the Jets. Let's move on. Defense, Philly. We talked about it. 9 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 2 fourth down stops. They got you 20 points in a standard league. I believe our league is pretty standard. I don't know, but they got you a lot of points. All right, let's move on to our favorite.
You blew it!
They're not our favorite, especially if they're on your team. Faceplants, quarterback Carson Wentz, 25, 211 yards, 9 sacks, 1 fumble lost, -1 point. But I want to, I know you can already see it, but I want to let you know something. On the year, even with this -1 point performance, he is still better than Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady.
Yes. He is. He had a big first few weeks, and we talked about it on the show. It's Carson Wentz. He's Carson Wentz, and this is the Carson Wentz that we expect. So, again, I think the first couple of weeks were kind of matchup based. He did well, but I think this is, he's probably not going to be this bad. So I think somewhere in between is kind of where he's going to settle. But this is why you can't rely on him week in and week out, because you're going to get performances like this at some point.
I had Herbert, and he played the late game, right, or later game. He played the 1 o'clock game. And I'm in a super flex, and I was like, oh my gosh, Carson Wentz is on my bench. But he played at 10, so I was like, I'm going to put him in. I have to put him in because I don't know if Herbert's going to play or not. And he got me like 1 point. But I still won, so that's good. But yes, you cannot count on him, trust me. Wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, faceplant, 3 catches, 14 yards.
Yeah, so you being a Justin Jefferson owner, are you at all worried? The last 2 weeks?
No. It's Justin Jefferson. He's going to give you those games, and he's great, and he will be great. And I don't know if it's matchups. I mean, I know the game before. Who were they playing?
They played Philly. Yeah, Darius Slay.
Yeah, Slay was all over him. So, but you've seen Jefferson. You know he can do it. It just depends on the matchups, and he'll get back to. You're not going to drop him. You're not going to trade him. If you're going to trade him, you're going to get somebody really great for him, who's that going to be other than Jefferson? Another one, Tyreek Hill, 2 for 33 yards and a fumble lost, 3 points.
Yeah, this is the Tyreek Hill experience, right? You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. He has those spike weeks that help you win games, and he has these dud weeks that you don't get much out of him. So going in, that's what you're going to get, and it's just, he's not your most consistent receiver. So this is going to happen, but I'd be more concerned about Tua. Kind of got banged up in that game. Let's see whether or not he's going to play on Thursday, because obviously if they go to Teddy Bridgewater, you're taking a downgrade at quarterback. So I'd be a little worried about that. But again, Tyreek is a touchdown waiting to happen on any play, or he's a dud waiting to happen on any week. So
yeah, boom or bust. And I drafted Justin Jefferson because it wasn't as much of a boom or bust. But here we are.
We're early.
Yeah, it's early. Running backs, Darrell Henderson, 4 for 17 yards. He's good. He's not good. He's good. He's not good.
Yeah, and we'll dive into this more later when we talk about kind of the running backs by committee and where we stand now. But yeah, you can't tell if he's the guy, is Cam Akers the guy. One guy fumbles, then he fumbles, and it's hard to get a take on that. So again, not somebody you're willing to start every week until you see a little more clear identity of what they're trying to do in that backfield.
We'll dive into this too. I just added it. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, they both had bad games. 12 for 26, 12 for 32. So, hey, 12 touches each. They just didn't get anything off of them. They're playing Tampa Bay, who has given up 12 points total to running back so far this season.
Yeah, their defense is insane. So I would just look at this as a bad matchup and kind of move on. As you mentioned, they got what you're looking for is touches. They got those. Just didn't produce with them. But again, against probably one of the best defenses in the league.
Tight end Darren Waller, 2 catches, 19 yards.
Yeah, that was another one where you saw Mac Hollins get kind of all the volume, and you're kind of curious on why is it going to Hollins and why didn't it go to Devontae Adams or Darren Waller. So again, it might just be a matchup thing, and they just the balls didn't go their way this week. But again, Waller, there's only a few really good tight ends. Waller is definitely in that kind of second tier, so you're not doing anything with him.
Also in that tier, supposedly, George Kittle, 3 for 22.
Yeah, so first game back from his groin issue that had him miss the first 2 weeks. Again, you don't really like the production, but you like that he was out there. He didn't get re-injured. He was fine. Jimmy G played awful in that terrible Sunday night game. Yeah. So not a lot to take from that. Again, Kittle's kind of like the tight end version of Tyreek Hill, right? A lot of few spike weeks here and there, and then some duds. So this just happened to be one of the duds, but I think better days to come.
Running backfields. We want to give you guys a little lesson here.
Yeah.
Just kind of let you know what we think about these backfields. Talk about some of the committees and what we think they're going to be moving forward. Let's start with Detroit.
Yeah, so just a quick kind of overview. So what we kind of looked at is these are a lot of things that we talked about in the preseason. A lot of these guys were, I don't know which one to take. Do I take one? Do I take both? How do I figure this out? And so after week 3, there's definitely been some clarity. There's been probably more questions now too. So this will just be kind of how these backfields have shook out so far and kind of what we anticipate to happen moving forward. So as you mentioned with Detroit, and this one might be a little unfair because, again, we mentioned the DeAndre Swift injury earlier, but so far for those guys, actually both of them have been top 7 running backs so far. So they've both been producing, which if you're a DeAndre Swift owner, you're kind of frustrated because, like, God, he could be the number 1 overall running back if he got all the work. But so far what we've seen this past week, again, DeAndre Swift got a little banged up in the game, but even when he wasn't banged up, week 3 snaps, Jamal Williams played 35 snaps, DeAndre Swift played 32. So Williams had more snaps this past week. Jamal Williams had 61% of the rushing attempts, but then DeAndre Swift ran 53% of the routes. So it really is a true backfield by committee. Again, Swift hurt. Williams is going to play a little bit more. But even before he got super hurt, Williams had more of the rushing attempts, and Swift was taking more of the passing work. So I think for me, moving forward, I'm concerned if I'm a DeAndre Swift owner. I think he was, drafted in, the top 2 or 3 rounds, and you thought he was going to be the bona fide number 1 guy there behind a really good offensive line. And really, they've kind of, brought Jamal Williams along and given him a ton of the work too. So what do you see in that Detroit backfield?
I'm looking at right here. DeAndre Swift, 27 attempts on the year so far. Jamal Williams, 43. But like you said, DeAndre Swift, 12 targets, and Jamal Williams, 5. But Jamal has 4 touchdowns. And that's the thing. Who are they going to give the ball to down there? Because that's going to make it right now, 42 points, fantasy points, DeAndre Swift, 41, Jamal Williams.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if the thing is, if you got Jamal Williams, you got a steal. Right, as of right now.
And he's kind of been their goal line guy. He has 4 touchdowns rushing this year through 3 games. I mean, he's been the guy on the goal line. So, like I said, you're frustrated as a Swift owner because you were expecting more as a number 1 back. And you're elated as but again, Swift is still the running back 5 this year. Running back 5, and he's getting half the work. Like, could you imagine him with a
Detroit
80% share? Yeah.
Well, we talked about this last
touchdowns every quarter.
Yeah, and I think they're still there. They got a touchdown every single quarter.
Ton. So unbelievable there. But again, that's the reason Jamal Williams could be an absolute smash moving forward with Swift out.
I agree. And in our league, he is unclaimed.
I know. And I'm glad I have a waiver wire priority before you, but I don't think he gets to me.
No. All right, let's go to the Jets. You got Breece Hall, you got Michael Carter, and I mean, there's Ty Johnson, but we're probably not going to talk about him.
Yeah. So again, before this season started, we were talking about, hey, this is a true timeshare. We think Michael Carter is going to be the first guy. He's going to be the starter, but at some point, Breece Hall is going to take over, right? They drafted him in the first round. He has the pedigree. He's going to get a lot of the work. Michael Carter had been really good through the first 2 weeks. He was good in week 3 as well. However, week 3, we started to see Breece Hall get more and more work, and he actually outsnapped Michael Carter 39-37 this week. So, again, I think it's something we all saw coming at some point. We just didn't know that it would be this soon. So, for me, as I look forward, so far this year, Michael Carter, 28 carries, 122 yards. Breece Hall, 21 carries, 112 yards. So, very similar there. They both have 13 receptions. Breece Hall with some more yardage. So, the work has almost been 50-50 in terms of yardage. But I think, again, we've seen Breece Hall start to take more snaps. This was the first week he did that. So I see the trajectory on Breece Hall continuing to rise, while Michael Carter's usage might continually decline.
And I'm going to say the opposite if Zach Wilson becomes quarterback, because I had Michael Carter last year, and Zach Wilson dumped down to him so many times. Now, if Flacco's, it's Flacco, right? If he stays there, then I think you're right on that. But I think Michael Carter and Zach Wilson maybe have that connection a little bit more. So eventually Breece Hall will take over, I think, by the end of the season, but it may flip-flop one more time.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I forgot about that. Yeah, Wilson may be coming back as soon as this week, too. And so what we've seen with the offense, and this goes for the offense across the board, right? Garrett Wilson and Corey Davis, and we talked about Tyler Conklin, and Elijah Moore we haven't even mentioned. So there's a lot of weapons that have been producing, and those might be Joe Flacco's guys. So it is interesting to see who are Zach Wilson's guys, and how does that look moving forward?
New England backfield. Always New England.
Yeah, so you said it, right? You never can trust a New England running back. Again, same thing. We're coming off a year where Damian Harris, I think he had 19 rushing touchdowns last year, which was astronomical. But they also have Ramondre Stevenson there. So it was kind of a question on who's going to get the work. How's that going to look moving forward? it's one of those situations where Stevenson looks like the more talented back, but again, Harris put up all the numbers last year. So this week, again, was kind of a changing of the tide. So Harris had been getting most of the work in the first 2 weeks. But this week, Stevenson, 41 snaps, Harris only 25. So a clear advantage for Ramondre Stevenson there. That included 26 pass routes for Stevenson, who has been the passing down back, but now he's getting more of the carries as well. On the season, Ramondre Stevenson, 29 carries, Harris with 35. So I think he's going to continue to close that gap. I think, again, he's getting more snaps. He's getting more action. 17 to 14 touches this week for Ramondre Stevenson over Harris. So, again, I think that continues to improve. But, again, another thing, as you mentioned the quarterback last time, now we got Mac Jones hurt. So do they run the ball more? Do they use them both more? But I think as at full health with that team, I think Stevenson starts to pull away in that backfield.
Yeah, they're pretty split right now, and even this week, Damian Harris got 10 points and Ramondre 15. So I mean, you're not going to have that ceiling with either of them as of now. If it continues in that trend, but I don't never trust the New England backfield at all. So I think, if you're in a deeper league or you need someone for the week because all your guys are hurt, then go for one of these guys and just hope that it's the one for the week that scores a touchdown or gets more touches. Los Angeles Rams, another team that's not doing so well.
Yeah, so this one, before the season, I think we all thought Cam Akers would be the number one running back. That's kind of been, they played him last year in the postseason. We talked about this extensively. Me more than anybody, again, as a Cam Akers owner. But then week one, we saw Darrell Henderson, and he got all the work. Akers was like in the doghouse. Week two, he came back, and Akers had got a little bit more work, and he was looking like he was starting to take over that backfield. And then I think they both fumbled, so that didn't help. And then this week, again, you're trying to figure it out. And at the half, Darrell Henderson had outsnapped Cam Akers 20-5. So Akers had played 5 snaps in the first half, and he had 2 carries for -1 yard. That was his line at halftime. Then in the second half, Akers took on the main role, dominated touches, looked really good doing it. It was almost like he was taking over the backfield. Ended up finishing 12 carries, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Again, had -1 yards at halftime. But then he also fumbled in the fourth quarter on the 1 yard line. And so when you think, okay, Akers is back, they're feeding him the ball, he commits another big turnover. So devastating for me, devastating for him, I'm sure. But again, they keep giving him opportunities. McVay wants him to be the guy, and he's just not capitalizing on all the opportunities, but he just looks better. So again, I'd rather have Akers than Henderson moving forward, but I'm still not comfortable starting Akers these next few weeks.
Yeah, I wouldn't start either one of these guys if you have better options. I think McVay, given all of the injuries that have happened, is actually going to have a committee backfield for the entire year if he can. He doesn't want to crash one of these guys into the ground. Of course, he's going to feed the hot hand, but I truly think this is going to continue to be a committee because he doesn't want the same thing happening. And he wants them both involved in case something happens and one has to take over. So good luck is what I have to say to you all. I probably have one of these guys in one of my leagues, but I have not been playing them. So moving on to Jacksonville. James Robinson, man. Yeah.
James Robinson might be the biggest steal of the draft so far. He's been outstanding. Week 1, 66 yards and a touchdown. Week 2, 64 yards and a touchdown. Week 3, 100 yards and a touchdown. He's been so good. Again, had a torn Achilles last year. He's come back. He's looked so healthy. They obviously drafted Travis Etienne last year in the first round. He got hurt last year, so this was kind of his first year playing. A lot of buzz about him in the preseason. Again, I think he got drafted much farther ahead than James Robinson did. But again, so far this year, James Robinson, 51 carries, 230 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Travis Etienne, 26 carries, 112 yards. So he's got twice the number of carries. He said, okay, well, Travis Etienne's kind of the receiving back, and he's only caught 8 balls for 81 yards, no touchdowns. James Robinson, 6 catches, 33 yards, and a touchdown. So he's still getting some of the receiving work too, including a touchdown. Again, 4 touchdowns through 3 weeks. He's been outstanding. I think he's the guy right now. I would much rather have him than ETN moving forward. But again, I think these are both guys that can be successful. That offense has been really, really good. But I think Robinson arrow is pointing up, and ETN I think he'll be okay. But Robinson just has so many more touches that he's obviously much more valuable.
Yeah, I have ETN in one of my leagues, and it's not fun. Robinson is the guy right now. But if you have ETN, I mean, it depends. All this depends on how deep of a league you're in and who you got to work with. But I'd say hang on to him. He could definitely be worthwhile. And if Robinson gets hurt, he's the guy. You can see what kind of, usage he's going to get.
That's exactly it. I think a lot of these things we're talking about is they're in committees, but if they were the solo guys, there's plenty of work there for them to be really successful. So again, you might be on the bottom end of this committee for now, but we've seen how many injuries happen. So you're just an injury away from having a top 15 running back.
Denver, it's just even saying their name, Denver Broncos. I don't know how they won. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. They are not riding this year. I know Russell was saying let's ride, but what they're not doing is riding the best running back. Last year, I think we talked about this too. Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, each had 203 carries apiece. And then there's some talk this offseason, okay, Javonte Williams is going to be the guy, he's going to get more work, but it hasn't been that way so far. After the first week, Javonte Williams, I think he caught like 10 balls in week 1. You're like, oh man, this is going to be a different element to his offense. And then week 2, we got a little bit more of the work, and you're like, okay, it's happening. And then in week 3, it's all back to what it looked like last season. So currently through 3 weeks, Javonte Williams, 37 carries, 176 yards, no touchdowns. Melvin Gordon, 34 carries, 131 yards, and 1 touchdown. He got the goal line work this past Sunday. Javonte Williams has caught 15 balls for 77 yards, but Melvin Gordon's caught 8 balls for 49 yards. So, again, that offense has been terrible. There just hasn't been a lot of opportunity. I think they had 8 or 9 3-and-outs on Sunday, so they're just not getting enough plays for both of them to be successful. But the other thing that kind of was irritating is that, I don't know the exact snap count, but Mike Boone got, I think, 15 or something snaps on Sunday. He's the third-string running back. What are you doing? You got 2 other guys. They're both good. Like, there's no need to split this up 3 ways. Again,
a couple targets too.
Yeah, and so he was like the third down back, which I don't understand. So, again, I think Javonte Williams is significantly more talented than Melvin Gordon, but for whatever reason, they're splitting the carries and the touches almost 50-50 again.
Yeah, Denver just they don't know what they're doing right now. They're trying to figure it out. Russ is trying to figure it out, the whole offense. So you can't drop these guys. You can definitely trade them if you want to, but you're trading them low right now, which they have potential. Denver has potential to become a better team and get the offense running. And, I believe Javonte has the juice more than Melvin Gordon. But, hey, Melvin Gordon's he's old, and he's been showing it can be done. And I think as long as that happens, they're going to continue to run a committee. Dallas Cowboys. You got Zeke, and hey, the shirt. Hey Tony, hey Ezekiel.
Yeah.
They have shirts. So, actually, Eliseo, who's not here, he has a shirt company, and he has those shirts if you'd like to buy them. But I've seen them other places too. What do you think about Zeke? And Tony.
Yeah, so this one, and I think we've had a lot of kind of texts in our group chat about this one, and it's similar to the other one. I think Tony Pollard looks like the better guy. He's more explosive. He's faster. He hits the hole harder. He's a better outside runner. But Zeke is kind of the between the tackles, pound it. He gets the goal line work. But when you just watch, you're like, God, I wonder what would happen if Tony Pollard got like 20 carries in a game. And maybe he can't, take that. He's a little smaller build. He just looks more explosive. But again, so far through 3 weeks, and they were both really good last night on Monday Night Football. Zeke, 40 carries, 178 yards and a touchdown. Tony Pollard, 28 carries, 156 yards and a touchdown. So very similar. Zeke has more carries. Tony Pollard higher, yards per carry, each with a touchdown. The receiving work is kind of where Zeke used to catch a lot of balls, and this year he's not doing it. 3 catches for -5 yards this year. So just not involved in the passing game. So again, you're reliant on him getting the red zone work and him punching the ball in the end zone to have really successful days. Again, Tony Pollard just more explosive. 6 catches, 69 yards. I'd expect him to get more involved in the passing game moving forward too. But again, kind of Cooper Rush at quarterback now. What changes when Dak comes back, right? Him and Zeke obviously played together for a long time, have that comfort level there. So I am curious to see what happens. Again, you're not dropping any of these guys. They're both very valuable on their own. Even in this committee, they've both been successful. So again, you're kind of hoping for the best. Zeke is going to be the goal line guy. Touchdowns always have more value than yardage. So you can't necessarily count on that. But again, I think Pollard's kind of the big splashier guy, but Zeke's still getting plenty of work to be useful in fantasy lineups.
And I mean, Pollard has really been better for you. I mean, the first week, not so much. 1 fantasy point, then 15, then 11. And you got Zeke, who had 5, 5, and 13, but that's because he got a touchdown. It would be 7 otherwise. So, I mean, it's interesting how it's going to play out. I think that, we've heard Jerry Jones say, give the ball to Zeke. I wanted to give the ball to Zeke, and maybe that's why they're doing it. Otherwise, they'd be using Pollard. But I am a Zeke owner, so please give the ball to Zeke.
Yeah, and I think that the last point in all of this, too, is we mentioned this earlier. We're coming up on bye weeks. I think starting in week 6, we get to bye weeks. And so sometimes your lineups get thin. You have multiple guys on bye weeks. There's not much on the waiver wire. And so these committee guys are definitely guys you can play, right? We've shown they've all been successful. And so you're hoping to get them on the right side of the committee for that week, right? So these are guys, again, you're not dropping. You're hoping that the other guy gets hurt. But, again, they're all useful pieces. They're kind of like, high upside flex plays, I think all of them.
And one more. We're going to talk about the Green Bay backfield here. We got Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. So Aaron Jones, 32 rushing attempts this year, 217 yards, 1 touchdown. A.J. Dillon, 40 attempts, 138 yards, 1 touchdown. 9 receptions for Aaron Jones and 8 for A.J. Dillon, 76 and 58. So they're pretty similar. Aaron Jones does have 1 touchdown more than A.J. Dillon. They're using him as a committee.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we expected coming in. And, Aaron Jones obviously was going 4 or 5 rounds ahead of A.J. Dillon, and so that's why you've got great value with Dillon. But, again, Jones has been good. He's got, 2 touchdowns. He's getting a lot of yards. He's averaging almost 7 yards per carry. He's been utilized in the passing game, as we mentioned. So, yeah, they lost Devontae Adams. They don't have the weapons at receiver, and so they're playing these guys at the same time sometimes in the backfield too. So they're kind of 1A and 1B. Both of them can be in the lineup. And again, I think we've seen the Green Bay offense kind of take some steps forward. Miserable in week 1. Again, they played the Packers, I think, last week, or the Bucs last week, who's a good defense. So I think we're going to start to see that Green Bay offense really come alive, and those are their 2 best playmakers, and they're just going to continue to give them the ball.
And really, neither of them have done exceptionally well, except for Aaron Jones. Week 2 had 29 fantasy points. He beast moded it out, but otherwise 6 and 2 points. A.J. Dillon 14 week 1, 6 and 3. So yeah, they're using him as a committee, but just hang on to him. Green Bay's still also trying to figure things out without Devontae. That's what we got about the backfields. We will revisit them later in the season as well, so watch for that. Let's talk about Week 3 matchups and our scores. All right, so I'm 3 and 4. You were 3 and 4, and I'll say it was 4 and 3. That's going to change right now because we're talking about last week's picks. Here we go. Last week we had the Buffalo and Miami game. Buffalo Bills by 4. I picked Buffalo. You picked Buffalo. Eliseo picked Buffalo. And Miami didn't only cover, but they won.
They won outright, yep.
So we lost that. Second game was Las Vegas Raiders, who they got to win one, right? They were 0-2.
That's what I thought last week was for.
And Tennessee, Las Vegas by 1 point. Tennessee won 24-22. I picked Vegas. You picked Vegas. Eliseo picked Vegas. Wow, we're so good at fantasy football and regular football and all the football. Green Bay and Tampa Bay was our third game. I picked Green Bay. You picked Green Bay. Eliseo picked Tampa Bay. And Green Bay won because it was 2.5 points favored by Tampa Bay, and it was 14-12 Green Bay. So we got that one. And then lastly, San Francisco and Denver. San Francisco by 1. San Francisco had 10 points. Denver won with 11. Your pick was Denver. Me and Eliseo San Francisco. So
let's ride.
Yeah, let's bring that score back here. Eliseo 4-7. Me 4-7. And Brandon 5-6.
Yeah, I was 0-3 after week 1, and here I am back atop the leaderboard. Was never worried.
Broncos country, let's ride.
All right, let's talk about this week's games. We'll just do the 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do the 4.
So first, we're gonna talk about where am I? Miami Dolphins 3-0 versus the Cincinnati Bengals 1-2. But the Bengals are favored by 3.5 points.
Yeah, this is going to be an intriguing one. Again, short week for these teams. They played on Sunday. This is the Thursday nighter. Tua's kind of banged up. Again, Miami coming off the huge win against Buffalo. I don't think they can do it again. I think Cincinnati's finally ready to put it together. So I'm going to take the Bengals by 3.5.
Eliseo gave us his picks before the show here, and he also picks Cincinnati. Just to make it interesting, and because, I'm liking the way Miami looks, I'm going to say they're going to do it. Maybe they won't win, but they'll cover the spread. Miami is my pick. Next game we're going to talk about here is Buffalo Bills 2-1 versus Baltimore Ravens 2-1. The Bills are favored by 3.5 points. And how did that work for them this week?
Yeah, not great. Their defense is really banged up. I think they play without 5 starters, both safeties, a corner. Like they're really, really hurt right now, and I think we saw Miami obviously take advantage of that. God, this is tough because obviously Buffalo was kind of the Super Bowl pick, and they look awesome after week 2. And I said, I'm never picking against Buffalo until they lose. Well, they lost, so do I pick against them here? 3.5. Baltimore's been good. Lamar's been awesome. That offense has been awesome. I could see this going either way, but I'm gonna take the points and go with Baltimore here.
All right. Eliseo picked Buffalo, and I was gonna pick Baltimore. Which way do I want to go?
It's a tough one.
This is tough. Yeah, it's a battle of the quarterbacks here. You know what? I'm gonna say that Baltimore is gonna at least cover. Here's a little side. Who's going to have more rushing yards? Josh Allen? Or Lamar?
Lamar's probably the safe answer, but I feel like maybe Josh Allen. I'm going to take Josh Allen in this game for that.
He's going to come in. He's going to come out and say, "Hey, I can do it too."
Superman, do it all by himself.
All right, let's move on to Kansas City Chiefs 2-1 versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, also 2-1, and Kansas City by 2.
Yeah, this is the Sunday night game. This is a fun one. I wish Tampa Bay was more healthy, and I wish we were kind of getting vintage Tampa Bay, Tom Brady with all his weapons. Kansas City also coming off a loss. So both teams coming off a loss. So somebody's going to lose 2 in a row. Kansas City with a tough loss to Indy last week. I'm going to say I like what I've seen more from Kansas City than Tampa. Tampa Bay's defense is good, but I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes to cover the 2 points against Tampa.
Eliseo also picked Kansas City. And this is tough. I feel like I wanted to pick Kansas City, but you know what? I like to make it interesting. And I think this could happen. Tampa Bay, who knows who's going to play in the receiving core, but they got a great defense. I'm going to pick Tampa Bay. And last game, we have the LA Rams versus the 49ers. Rams are 2-1. 49ers are 1-2, but for some reason, the 49ers are favored by 2.5 points.
Yeah, favored by 2.5 at home. This is a good NFC West division matchup. Monday Night Football is another fun one. This is tough. Yeah, this line looks a little murky to me. I'm confused after what we saw San Francisco on Sunday night. They look so bad. I want to take the Rams and get the 2.5 points, but it's so fishy that almost makes me want to take San Francisco because I feel like I'm missing something, but I'm going to take the points. I think the Rams can win this game. Again, you coin flip on these games. I think the Rams can beat the 49ers. So you're going to give me a free 2.5 points. I'm going to take them. So I'll take the Rams.
Eliseo also picked the Rams to win here. if Jimmy G didn't look so bad, and here's the thing, he didn't have a preseason. He didn't get to he does. I don't even know if he knows the playbook. I mean, he hasn't been doing anything.
They talked about him working out on the side by himself without a playbook. Like he was literally working by himself when he was a member of the team.
He was
so
planned
strange
to get traded, I mean, obviously. But I think he's going to pull it together, and the 49ers are going to win. Boom. There we go. Either I'm going to do really well
this week.
I'm
Yeah,
going to do really well or really
like
bad.
I feel bad because I have so many games in line with LSA, and we saw what he's done the last couple of weeks. So.
Yeah, well, wait till we get to his other guy. We're going to go into that right now. I forgot who I picked for my balls to the wall this week, but I'll remember by the end of the segment. Last week, Brandon, you know who you picked?
I do. Nico Collins didn't do what I thought he was going to do.
You said he was going to do 7 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. 2 catches, 41 yards. I mean, hey, you got halfway there. Almost halfway there. Minus the touchdowns. But, better than mine because I picked yours truly, Jimmy G, 225 yards and 2 touchdowns. Plus, I said he was going to do 40 yards on the ground and another touchdown. He did 211 yards, so I was close there. 1 touchdown, all right. And no yards on the ground. Oh, also an interception and 4 sacks.
And also stepped on the end zone line to get a safety.
Yes, he did do that. But actually, that was going to be a pick, so I guess that worked out for him.
Might have worked out better for them.
LSAO picked Deebo Samuel, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. He got 79 yards. So, not horrible. That's Deebo. No touchdowns. All right. Let's go over LSAO's pick of the week here, okay?
A lot of suspense here. I don't know what this pick is.
Yes, I wish this little guy could talk right here in front of us. Again, go to the Fantasy Football Fools on YouTube and look at our little Skeletor LSAO right here. We need to get a little voice.
Same body type, too. I think they probably weigh the same.
LSAO's balls to the wall this week is Derek Carr. He's going to do 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. He said, you know what? Forget this. The Raiders are finally going to win, and Derek Carr is going to do it. And I hope it happens, I really
They're playing the Broncos, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, it's
Broncos
possible.
country, let's rock.
No, it's not. All right. Who's your balls to the wall?
Yeah, so the last few weeks I kind of picked some off the radar guys and guys you wouldn't want. So now that we've had 3 weeks of seeing what's going to happen, I'm going to change gears a little bit. So I'm going to go with a guy who's been extremely disappointing this year. Hasn't lived up to the hype of what you were probably drafted him as. Last week he had 1 catch for 2 yards. I'm going to go with that guy, that same guy, who will be named shortly, to have 7 catches, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So on the year, he only has 7 catches, 87 yards, and 1 touchdown. So I think he's going to have more yards and touchdowns this week than he's had all season long. And that's why my balls to the wall pick is DJ Moore.
Oh, nice. I like it. I like DJ Moore. I think that's a very good pick. All right. Over to me. Remember how I said I forgot?
Yeah, did you remember? Or no,
I did
you're
not.
just picking a new one.
I'm just picking a new one. I'll remember after this, and I'll talk about it next episode.
Matt Ryan.
This is interesting, but they play, and this is what I was looking at before. I don't remember who it was though, but they play. Who do they play this week? The Chargers, who have actually given up quite a few.
They got torched by the Jaguars last year.
Yeah, so they're going up to 6th most fantasy points. So I'm going to go with Damian Pierce is going to have a great game. He's not going to quite hit 100. No, he is 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. Houston's gonna rally against the Chargers. I'm not gonna say they're gonna win, but Chargers did not look well. So
I like it.
Those are our balls to the wall. Derek Carr, 400 yards. Do it. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. Bye.